Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. That was pretty good. First thing is there a vice president, Tim, that would like to take minutes? Speaking, you're the only one in the room. If not, we can try to get somebody else. Paper?
No, yeah, he's gonna write with it, something to write on.
Thank you, sir.
Much appreciated.
Just do it the way I would.
We had a meeting.
It was fun. It was fun. I usually don't ask you.
Yeah. So thanks for coming out, everybody. I'm Charlie Nielson, president of the club. We have a few other officers here. We might get some reports on them after our guest speakers, which happens to also be officers tonight. And you might wonder why the tables are laid out the way they are. That's because we're going to test you, and the test is really tough after this. But if we told everybody in advance, it would take the fun out of it. If you fail, you never get out of the club for the rest of your life. If you pass, you're a lifetime member. So either way. You also might notice that originally, Jeff and I were going to do this in April, and it might have looked like circumstance just happened to bump this to May, but we could also say we deliberately did that. So we did this talk after we got reelected, just in case. So anyway, so with that, our guest speakers tonight are myself and Jeff. I'm going to give Jeff really the credit for putting these slides together, and as you're going to see, he's probably going to end up doing 3/4, 2/3 of this or so.
No pressure.
And yeah, no pressure at all. And I'm just going to kind of fill things in as we go along with some of the experiences I've had. For example, that's why you notice I haven't put my scope together, because there's a few things about the S50 I want to point out to people that could potentially get you. So things like that. And what's also interesting is you might wonder how we prepared for this. We did not. We have not rehearsed it. We only had a Zoom meeting for a little while and just went through the slides and had a vague idea what we're going to say. So this is about as impromptu as it's going to get. It just makes it more fun. So anyway, with that, Jeff, is there anything that maybe we don't know about you that you'd like to reveal as an intro?
As an intro, let's see. I work for University of Michigan currently. Sometime this summer, I'm going to tell them I'm going to retire, and I work for the ITS departments with all this computery IT crap. I'm pretty reasonably competent. My boss might disagree. We're doing performance evaluations right now. So with that, I saw the Seestars come up in December of 25 it would be, and I picked mine up on in mid-April 15th on tax day. The Seestar 30 is what I picked because the cameras and all that. And I've been absolutely thrilled with the thing. Been kind of passionate, which if you read half of the emails out there, that's probably one of them's got me on it, yapping about whatever it is and stuff I had that night. So I kind of dived into my usual fashion, and it's been kind of a fun journey, and we've learned a ton. And we're coming around that time where it's been about a year, and we started getting kind of reflective. I was like, well, we figured a lot of stuff out on these new boxes, and there's been software changes and releases of software for post-processing that we never had available to us even 6 months ago. So the landscape has changed quite a bit. My equipment I upgraded a little bit. I got the various pieces here we'll go into later, but it's kind of like sharing our passions for these crazy things and how they've kind of revolutionized how we think about stuff.
And myself, everybody pretty much knows I've been the club president for longer than I can remember now. So someday I'll change that, but it hasn't happened yet. So, but besides astronomy, I guess I actually do still kind of work for a living. I work for a company, I'm a contractor for them actually, that does IT type stuff, and especially voice over internet phone systems, which is my main thing. Basically, I install them. I kind of work between the customer and the programmers which as you could imagine is a little bit of a pain sometimes to interpret what they want and how we actually do it. But I have a couple other hobbies too, besides astronomy. I also do rock and mineral collecting. And one of the reasons is when you're doing astronomy, you're always looking like this, you could get a stiff neck. But when you're rock collecting, you're looking down like this, so it compensates. I'm also really, really into fishing. So that's the equalizer, because in that, you're pretty much looking straight out. So either way, I got it covered. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So I will turn it over to Jeff to open things up.
Yep. Well, I had a little bit of fun with the slides, as you can see, with the Marvin Martian. It's fun. One of the things the Seestars, I mean, they're operated off of your cell phone, iOS or Android. I've used a tablet, but frankly, the phone is just as good. And one of the first things that you get into is like, well, what kind of exposure times are going to get? How sensitive is this crazy thing? Because, well, with the 30, I've only got a 30 millimeter objective lens. The 50's got only a 50. So it's like, this could be all over the map. But it turns out that you can get an image in probably 5 minutes of just about anything in the sky, which is pretty incredible. And so if you want to get something that is picture worthy, then we usually say is like around 35 minutes, you can get something that looks pretty decent.
If we have time toward the end, I've got a bunch of pictures on a USB stick, and I can show you some examples of like earlier work when I didn't have the guts to go beyond like 15 minutes. And then later when I got the same thing for say an hour. So you can really see what the difference really is.
Now, there are some restrictions. We figured out longer you expose, the clearer you get, the less noise. It's all the typical astrophotography parameters there. I had different images here just because I knew that they were different times, and they set it right in the little corner, which the Seestar software lets you have that banner on the bottom, whether you like it or not. Well, whether you choose it or not. And what was I going to say? The exposure times you can choose with the. I'm getting into mounts already, but you have a choice to go up to about 30 seconds with an Alt-AZ type setup. If you go equatorial, then you can get up to 60 seconds. And of course, you can let it run all night if you want, and it'll collect data all night until the battery goes dead, or if you use a power supply forever. But I just showed is like basically at 30 minutes, you can get some kind of image. At 45, then some of the noise starts going away, the detail starts popping, and by 60 minutes, most of the noise is gone, which the noise will show up as like red and green extra pixels here and there. And some of the cloudiness, the haziness will go away. And if you do after that, I would say up to 90 minutes or so, things will really crispen up. You'll get some of the more subtle features on that. The cameras are very sensitive, and they pick up an amazing amount of detail.
I think Jeff just said the other night that life really begins at 60 minutes. So
yeah, my minimum now is a 60-second sub and a 60-minute time for anything that's remotely dark sky. And even though this is only a 30 millimeter, I was able to pick up quite clearly just last night a 14th magnitude galaxy that was sitting out there. It was a UGC number. I had to look it up in Sky Safari to figure out what the heck it was. But these things are seeing way past what you think they could do. And I should say, whenever I'm using mine, it's right from my driveway in Ypsilanti, which is light pollution. So.
no, I didn't have anything on this one, so go ahead.
Okay. I kind of dipped into the Alt-AZ modes versus EQ, and the difference is just basically what we all know. Alt-AZ is gonna operate fine for stuff that is maybe up to 45, 50 degrees up, and after that you start seeing rotational problems. And I show in the picture here the stock mount that comes with the 30, which is pretty laughable. I used my iOptron tripod instead, but it can buy stock. It just comes with a simple Alt-AZ mount. You screw the Seestar in, plop it down, and turn it on. You can be set up and running in 2 minutes. It's amazing. Now, photographic quality, if you have anything that's high in the sky, yeah, you're going to see the rotation differences, and you're going to want to, upgrade to something better.
Another thing to consider going with something where you're getting the scope higher up. I just don't, it makes me nervous having the telescope that close to the ground, especially if it's, where people don't see it very well, that kind of thing. But the other thing is, if you're around where there's other people milling around and the telescope's down here versus up here, a lot less chance somebody's going to walk in front of it while you're imaging. So highly, highly recommended you come up with some other kind of a tripod arrangement.
And I have seen people use glow in the dark strips on the sides of their tripod.
You notice spots like that
Yeah.
there, corners there.
LED things.
Right
I mean, there's all kinds of accessories. I tend to mount mine fairly low just because I don't want it to be noticed by passing cars. And actually, this is the second 30 that I've had. The first one was was stolen on July 2nd. I had a new one on my doorstep by the July 5th. So they were shipping pretty fast then. But I learned real quick that I got to strap that thing down, and I have now a screw in the ground dog stake and a nice heavy duty bicycle lock. And then this little guy here is a vibration alarm, which
Prepare yourself.
it will send off a fairly unique signal. I'm not gonna set it off. But I can hear that from inside my house with the doors closed, air conditioning on and everything. So if it sets off the alarm, you'll know it.
Scared the hell out of anybody trying to steal it.
Well, that's part of the thing too. But between that, I mean, I've had it just the vibrations, like if something gets trapped or caught on the Seestar, just the vibrations from the motor, cycling or whatever will set off the alarm. So it's very sensitive. If anybody bumps it, touches it, plays with it, it's going to go off. And well, my wife has given me a baseball bat by the door so that I can scoot out there. It's like, what are you doing, buddy?
It's gonna be a lot of fun at Star Parties.
Oh yeah. I haven't really done that, but Star Party one, I've done the outreach and I do strap it down and I do turn on the alarm. I just tell people it's like, don't set it, it's vibration sensitive. I think that because they're light, the center of gravity is kind of bad. So setting up high, I get a little worried about. Setting up low, things seem a little more stable, but it goes both ways. I've seen people weight them down so they don't get tripped on. Because like that one is, I think, like 2.5 pounds, and this one is what, 4?
Something like that, yeah.
They're very light.
Yeah.
All self-contained. They track, do all gearing and everything. Did I miss anything? Oh, the EQ mode.
Yeah.
If you want to take better pictures, and well, lately all the galaxies I've been looking at have been basically around the zenith, plus or minus 20 degrees. You go to an equatorial mode, which my first equatorial wedge was basically that, and it screws into the same tripod, and the Seestar, you just get a saddle for it, a Vixen set, and they strap right in. This one wasn't quite as stable, so I ended up buying the William Optics, which is about $230. It's more than I really wanted to spend, but as you can see, the differences are pretty substantial between those two.
This, on the other hand, is some kind of a Chinese knockoff of some type. It was, I don't know, 70 or 80 bucks maybe, something to that effect. And it works, but if you tried to use the controls on this, to change the angles and everything on it, compared to that, it's a world of difference. That is much, much higher quality. I mean, this will get the job done, but that will just drive you less crazy with the adjustments. So
that's kind of what I
might be worth the money.
With this one, it's like these screws here are ultra loosey goosey.
Yeah.
And even when you got everything all strapped down and tightened down, it's hard to get to that one. It's hard to get these accurate, and you end up going back and forth when you're setting.
Yeah. And that's the same thing here on these two, is I quite often just one, And you've got to back off the other one once it gets tight on the other side. And I'll loosen it and turn the other one, it won't turn up. Oh, I know I've got more adjustment there and I just got to do it harder. And it's almost like it finds a whole nother range now that it will decide to turn again. So you really got to mess with it. In fact, a couple times I just finally got frustrated and realized, well, you know, if I just turn this thing here, I can just tweak it a little bit and lock it.
I've done that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
when you're setting up, does that help you find north?
It does not. But if you, the Seestar instructions basically have you like have this thing pointing north.
Mhm.
And if you get relatively close, and I've had it, I just eyeball it. I have a compass that does true north. And I line up visually the compass with this edge here. It's close enough. And then after that, you can use your adjustments on the equatorial now to scoot it back and forth. And I will say the William optics, they're butter smooth. You still have to do, you know, unscrew one, screw the other to do that, but it does that on both axes, and then these lock it down here.
But how do you know you're lining it up?
When you're doing the alignment procedure, they screen that first asks you to get the latitude correctly, and it's got something inside that detects that. And so you use the, you know, what is it, the zenith?
Yeah, basically these two knobs here, you unlock it, and then this one will adjust
Yeah,
the angle of this part.
I've got a couple of knobs.
So it tells you.
It tells you
Yeah.
what the latitude.
It actually
and
shows
then
you the angle itself.
When you go to the next screen, then it will basically take plate solves of 3 areas of the sky,
Mhm.
give you some numbers, and then you can adjust it live until you get those numbers as close to 0 as you can. And that could be, you know, altitude or you know, the compass directions on either side. But once you get that down to 0, we found through experience that it's the best to do it at least 2 or 3 times. The software is not perfect, but it's close enough.
However,
Yeah.
I have noticed, because I read that same thing. So the next time I mean, when I did my very first equatorial with this, I didn't know that. I set it up, I got it once, and I got a beautiful shot of the Eagle Nebula. Except one that Brian Autumn enhanced, where it was actually taken over at the Hillocks. Remember at your picnic there? And it came out spectacular right off the bat. So then I read about doing that 3 times in a row. So I started doing it and everything was fine until one day it wasn't. And I started doing some imaging. I got a lot of rejects on what in the world's going on here. And it seems like it was getting worse. So I got suspicious that it wasn't right. And I went and checked it another time. And it was completely different than where I left it. What in the world? So I just did it one more time, left it alone, and I was fine. Same thing happened last night. And I had this thing down, it gives you a scale 0.00 something. And I had them both down axis to 0.01. Now, oh, that's beautiful. I locked it down immediately. First galaxy I did, not only did it reject things, I saw star trailing. I couldn't believe it even did those images. Oh, what in the world? So same thing. I just went out there, went right back into equatorial, set it one time, walked away, and it was fine the rest of the night. I don't know why, but
And to complicate that, they send out updates probably every couple of weeks. They're fixing various bugs, and every now and then they change the equatorial routine, which means the sensitivity. There is a refresh button you can use.
yeah.
And early on, they told not to use that because it's just not accurate. Because it's not taking any new pictures, and it uses a movement of the scope to gauge where you are. Well, it turns out they've improved those routines too. So now, last night I was using the refresh, and it worked fine.
Yeah.
I dialed it in and took beautiful picture. So, but those are the equatorial ones. As complex as that sounds, that usually takes about three to 5 minutes, I would say.
Yeah.
About that. And it's by the time you're set up, you've done your equatorial thing, you're probably up and running in less than 10 minutes. And it's like last night, I got back from a band rehearsal. I hit my doorstep from that around 10 p.m. Noticed that, hey, sun's down, it's starting to get dark, sky is clear, it's time to get out the Seestar. And I had it out and running in about 10 minutes, and I was imaging. the same night that I had, busy evening schedules. I really love that. I get a lot more time on it. Yeah.
How, for the wind, what speed of wind do you put?
I haven't really taken readings, but generally if my trees are doing this, it's probably not a good idea. I will say the Seestars are fairly aerodynamic. They don't act as kites real bad, but from there, I think it's probably your tripod and how sturdy a tripod you have. Which, that's a nice segue.
I had a run not long ago. It was windy that night off and on. And I did notice I would go through periods where I'd start dropping some frames and then it would just get over it. And I got suspicious, so I tried to see if it seemed to have a problem. It was windier, and I think I did notice that. So I think it was wiggling just enough. But the thing that's cool is it detected it, threw those frames up, and just rolled on.
We covered our EQ wedges pretty well, I think, so I skipped that slide real fast.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the Williams mounts, are those the ones that come in like two different ranges?
The Williams?
Yeah.
They do, but it's like if you're at, for our latitudes, it's fine. For the lower ones, like if you're in Florida, you can order the low latitude ones, but if you take apart the axis here, you can switch out where that stop is. So you can buy either one, and they have instructions at the Williams site on how to switch that over. But this wedge is made for both. It's just they ship it with a block. It's just a stopper block. It looks like a little key-shaped thing that you can slide in and out. It's probably not easy, but it will slide out. Yes.
For true novices, could you please explain what Alt, AZ, and EQ stand for?
An Alt AZ is basically like a camera tripod where you're rotating in this direction and then up and down, an angle up and down. With an equatorial mount like this, the telescope is following the Earth's axis. So you align it to our latitude on the planet. So we're around 42 degrees, 43 degrees. And so and afterwards you come up and set, there's little markings on here that'll tell you about where you are. So if you line that up approximately where you're at, you'll be basically, the motor will only have to spin in one direction very smoothly with the Earth's rotation. So it's easier for tracking and it's more accurate astrophotography.
Jeff, how sensitive is it to vibration? I have a condo building in Florida that I take pictures from the roof and has a floating floor.
It will be sensitive, but it depends on your tripod, I would say. I set it up in my lawn, which isn't real bad, but if I was seeing vibration, you can, for $30, you can get a set of vibration pads put on your tripod, and that'd probably fix it. I found with my bigger scope that even though it was set it on a concrete driveway, just walking to the telescope and back, you can tell it's vibration. Vibration pads took care of all that problem. And I would think if you're on a roof, that would probably be true.
Now, one thing it might get you is like a wooden deck. That's where I run mine at home most of the time, and it's a fairly solid deck. But I can pick up vibration through that. In fact, even when I'm doing my equatorial alignment, when I'm adjusting those, I'll watch those numbers and just freeze and try not to move it. I'll make sure they stay there. But if I just do this a little bit, I can see those move a little bit. And then once I do my images, when I start that, I go back inside and I don't go on that deck until I've got done with that image, or unless something forces me to.
Even the equatorial, when you're adjusting it, one way or another, latitude, whatever, I've learned to take your hands off it, let it settle for a second or two, then read the numbers off to see what you got to do next. It's the same as focusing a telescope or doing anything like that. They're going to be very, very sensitive to vibrations.
What's the difference between the 30 and the 50, pros and cons?
The aperture of the one, it's real evident. This got a 30 millimeter objective. This got a 50 millimeter. Past that,
a little better sensor at the 30.
I was
More
gonna say,
sensitive, yeah.
the camera sensor in the 30 is the newer model of the sensor here, which I think this is the 462 and this is the 662 IMAX Sony sensors. The 662 is a tad more sensitive and it's a little more low noise. And frankly, it's the reason I bought that one. I was mating up cameras and all that. Both of the cameras are excellent. Resolutions are identical, just that this one is a slightly older design and it's a little noisier. I went for the low noise option.
Are they the same F ratio?
Yeah, I think they're both
Yeah.
at 5.
Yeah, both have
Okay,
five.
so that has a
Much
larger image.
Yeah.
considerably, yeah. So that's part of it too, it depends on what it is you're imaging. You know, if it's a smaller object, you probably have an advantage with the S50. If it's something that's, you know, wider, covering more space, and you need that wide angle, you're better off with the 30.
Well, and the 30's got the larger field of view, but they've made a 30 Pro that has like another 15% larger due to the optics involved. And they have a Milky Way mode on that one that is a wide sky view. I have no experience with that, so I can't comment. I just know that the 30 is meeting my needs pretty well, but planetary, forget it.
Yeah,
They're not made for planetary at all. Yeah.
Before people rush out and get one, there is a S70.
there is a rumor it's coming,
It's supposed to be out soon.
yeah. Actually, I'd heard it was gonna be around the beginning of the year, but we're kind of past that now. But there is supposedly a 70 coming. They think it's gonna be $800 to $1,000, something like there.
I mean, the 70 would definitely do a lot better job, probably get you some planetary images better than what these scopes can do. I was into planetary and I basically kept my SCT for that.
Yeah.
The other difference, I almost forgot, is that this one is a $400 telescope, that's a 550. And the Pro, I believe, is at 550 right now.
Actually, I think I might have seen it for 60.
Six.
Yeah, I think it went on. Yeah.
With tariffs and
Yeah,
fuel and
yeah.
all the other stuff, who knows? This is the entry level one, and frankly, for $400, it's a deal. But the Williams optics and the tripods for about $100, and wedges you can spend 80 to a couple of hundred on them. So, but very economical.
Does it automatically send it to an iPad for you?
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
built to do only, iPads or Android. It has its own built-in Wi-Fi network. So if you're out in the middle of the field, you've got a Wi-Fi network to connect to. If you have it at home, you can do what they call station mode, and you can tie into your home internet.
Which I highly recommend getting through it.
That saves a lot of hassle.
Yes, it does.
Because it means you can go inside where the bugs are not, or where it's,
Yeah.
above freezing. I
Well,
will
I've
use
probably got better signal. I mean, I can, we're doing that, I can set that on my patio and any place in my house, no problem. I can carry that tablet around and do whatever, be a long ways away.
The range on the Wi-Fi that they have is not bad. It's about 30
Yeah.
feet, but if you're going camping, yeah, you can go back in the camper or something, you'd be okay. But if you're doing anything else, like, yeah, the station mode is pretty handy.
Do you have to have a heater and all that other stuff you like tell us?
It has a good heater built in. If you want to heat the telescope, I'm sure it wouldn't object. The battery would probably be happier. We have a slide on battery life too. So.
Do you have to have internet in order to operate?
No. They have a built-in hotspot. So you can use that with your phone. Your phone can connect to it really easy, and it's basically the serial number of your telescope.
But since you mentioned that, that's another advantage of station mode. Because in direct connect, you can't run your phone or your tablet off your Wi-Fi at the same time, so you've lost internet. But if you run station mode, you got both. It just becomes like another device in your network. It's really slick.
Well, and you can check Sky Safari for various facts, telescopias, whatever. You can use that on the same device. And the Seestar app, whether it's on your tablet or your phone, that basically is just a controller, and you can turn your phone off, and it will continue doing what you last told it forever. So you don't have to keep watching the thing or
Yeah.
playing with it, you just let it go.
Is there a operating system requirement? In other words,
iOS or
how far
Android.
back will
That's a
phone
good
can you
question.
have that they will work? Do you know?
I don't know offhand. I know in Android, I want to say it's Android 11 or later, but I'd have to look that up.
Yeah,
But there is a limit.
probably.
I would say if you have it in the last 5 years and you kept it reasonably upgraded in the top. There's nothing peculiar about either OS for aging and all that. They use pretty basic services. Did you want to show them the levelers?
Yeah, so that's the slide you want to do it on.
Yeah.
This thing that you'll notice,
So we skipped by EQ.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really
right.
fast.
you can see it better in that first slide. I think the next one doesn't show a close up.
Well, this is basically the two types of tripods
Yeah.
you can get. I have, this is my heavy duty camera tripod. It was about, I think, $120. It's a KNF, very adjustable. You can put it dang near anywhere, and they come with the 3/8 screw, so the Seestar screws right into it. And then the same, hardware will mount your EQ mount or whatever. But as everyone's found out, that's used Alt-AZ, which you
Yeah.
have to use for the moon or solar. You end up buying one of these levelers, and they basically give you 3 posts that you can adjust the level. You got a little, bubble mounts on the side and stuff. You put that in between the tripod and the Seestar there, and you can adjust the things really easily.
Of course, you can't do what the Seestars sitting on it because it covers the ball, but initially.
That's one of the
Yeah, you
disadvantages
can't.
of the 50s.
Yeah, yeah.
But if your tripod already has levels on it, then you can that work well.
This one does, there's a bubble right here, and I've got it on the wedge also. And they don't totally agree with each other.
Really?
So, yeah, they're close enough, but then something to consider too, if you're using equatorial mode. I don't remember the last time I ever leveled this thing, because you notice I don't have that little adjuster in there right now. Because in equatorial, you don't have to be level. Now, I'm not saying you can necessarily go out there and expect it to work like that, but I actually wouldn't be totally shocked if it would. I don't know if I can explain it. One of our astrophotography people called Clay Kessler. I remember he used to preach this all the time. Don't spend all this time leveling your tripod. Just get good polar alignment and you're good. And it can be off actually, not that you really think it's a problem, and it isn't. And sure, if I haven't leveled this thing for, I know I'm close where I set it because it's in the same spot all the time. But I haven't actually really checked it. I just do my polar alignment and go.
There's also a routine in the app that helps you level.
I was gonna say that if you're using the Alt-AZ mode and you have a leveler, it has a leveling routine in there. If you want to adjust your tripod legs, go for it, but the
Yeah.
levelers are easier to use. And it basically gives you two circles, and if you basically get them sitting on top of each other, they'll turn green.
Yeah.
To tell you it's
Three,
level.
it's 3 of them.
Is it 3?
Yes, 3 circles.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 circles, you just get them all. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that shows
If
3.
it's not level enough, it won't work.
That's right, it will try to stop you.
Oh, it'll work, but you just won't be able to point at it.
Right.
Again.
And I did have a problem with mine one time, and I never really actually figured it out. I kind of thought it was an update at one point. But I don't think it was now, but for some reason, all of a sudden one night I went and did an object and everything was cool. And then as soon as I went to another object, it said it couldn't do it because the thing wasn't level. I thought, yes, it is. So I go out there and check it, and sure enough, the app said it wasn't. So I readjust it, and I go, okay, you happy now? Go in there, do my next object, everything was fine. Move to a different one, tripod's not level. And I adjusted again, and I couldn't get around it. What I finally did is when I went to the second object, once I did have it in the field of view, I synced on it. So that I told it, no, I don't care what you think, this is where you're really at. And that would get me around it for now until I went to yet another one. But then if I just synced on that and ignored the leveling thing, I'd get away with it. And then one day, just stop doing it.
Yeah. I've had the things aligned properly in the EQ mode, and you go to the first object, everything's dandy, you have, 100% success rate. You go to the next object and it's having trouble even locating the thing and centering, and all of a sudden like, what's going on? And then I basically like, okay, let's go to another object and come back, and then
Yeah,
whatever happens, whatever gear latching is going on, it's done with, and it's happy again. They're sometimes a little quirky that way.
well, one thing before I forgot, I want to point out, if you get one of these, and if you're gonna do all azimuth, you want one of these, believe me.
Yeah.
You don't want to adjust the tripod legs if you want to keep your sanity anyway. But one of these actually adjusts and the other one is just a locking thing. So what I really recommend is before you use it the first time, if you look at this carefully, one of these is jacked up higher, more gap in here than the other ones. I always try to get these so they're about the same and they're about in the middle of their travel. Because what I don't want to do is go out there and get in a situation where I've got one of them with the travel one way or the other as far as it can go. And then I have to adjust both of the other ones to make up for it. So I always try to keep this someplace in the middle area. And then it just adjusts from there. Makes a big difference.
So when it does the polar alignment with the stars, that's probably using the 3-point polar alignment routine.
Yep.
Does it, I know like on my stuff, it make sure you grab stars that are apart enough. Because
It doesn't actually do a 3-point like you'd expect.
Okay.
It finds, you can tell it to look like I have a southern bound viewing port, piece of sky I'm looking at. And so you can tell it to favor one direction or another, north or south. And I usually give it 1 notch south so it knows that I have a southerly sky, and it will go to approximately, 30 degrees off, and take a picture of something 30 degrees up here, take a picture 30 degrees there. It doesn't seem to care where you're pointing, but it knows that it's taken those 3 pictures, and then it, figures out what it needs to figure out.
And something that's handy about that, I had this happen not fairly recently, where it was partly cloudy out. I was going to try to start an image run anyway, but wouldn't you know, one of these clouds was right over one of the images that it was trying to do for the alignment. But when you first go into it, it'll ask you, do you want to look at the zenith or do you want to look further south or north? So I just said, okay, and I oriented it more away from where that cloud was and did it again, no problem.
I will just make a note, the photo I took here of this tripod, this is my dog steak and my bicycle lock. Yeah, I do have the vibration sensor on there. So.
Yeah, because that may keep them from taking the tripod, but it won't keep them from taking the.
Technically, no, but if I jiggle the thing to take it off, it's gonna yell.
Yeah.
And the other thing with my tripod design, if you notice the middle supports and all that are completely connected to the legs, so I can loop something through there. Not all telescopes do that.
Were you putting this thing in your front yard?
Inches from the curb. It's the only clear spot I got. The backyard is all forest.
So they do your tripod last time too?
Yep, they took the whole thing. It was still running, and I was sitting in my lazy boy, watching things, and all of a sudden it lost network connectivity, which occasionally it happens. It's like, okay, it doesn't want to come back, so I get out of the chair, put the coat on, go outside, and I'm looking around, and I'm looking at my phone. I look up, I'm like, well, that explains the network connectivity problem. I got into the car and looked around, and I figured maybe somebody walked off with it down the street. It's nowhere to come.
Yeah, I was going to say, you hop in your car, start driving around until it reconnected.
Well, that's what happened.
So what I thought would be cool is if you could have some routine in there, so if it senses that vibration, the last thing it does is do a high-speed slew in the area and use a wide-angle camera to take pictures and then quickly send them back to you.
I did buy they make a countless GPS senders, and I did buy one. It's the size, it's about a thick button like that, and it works anywhere in the world. It's battery powered. It lasts for like 3.5 years. I actually used it in my luggage for a trip, and it tracked the luggage just fine. But I thought it was like, well, I could put one in there, maybe the battery compartment here, but it's so compact to where to put it. And I could try, epoxying it out. Well, then it would fit in the very compact case. And it's like,
Well, if it goes right by, just attach to the tripod.
yeah, I could epoxy it to the tripod probably, but it's one of those things was like, yeah, how far you want to go at this point. I'm eliminating opportunity.
How do you go to the next slide?
Just right here.
That's like some bit of it. Didn't like me.
Okay.
Did you look on the
Yeah.
computer?
Vibration device, is that just a bicycle flow?
Yeah, actually, it's made for e-bikes. I think it was about $36 or something like that online.
And then it's,
Yeah, it makes a ton of noise.
yeah, which is why.
Well, one of the times the dew shield caught and the motor was basically and it set off the thing and it's like, oh shit, somebody's trying to steal my telescope. And no, it was just stupid. It
Hey,
shut
don't go
down.
to the next slide.
Okay,
Whoa. There we go.
pressing too many buttons.
Yeah, I hit it too hard.
One thing Charlie and I have agreed on actually for both of these things is that the battery life is spectacular. In normal temperatures, I can get 5 hours easily, which is for an average, imaging night is in the summer and all that. That's going to be no problem. If you're below freezing, they say that you have about a negative 14 or 14 Fahrenheit is the lower limit where they don't like you operating below, which I'm sure it's lubrications, greases, whatever.
Always keep your eye on the dew point too, so you know when to
Yes.
flip on that dew heater.
I flip on the dew heater no matter what.
Yeah, I'm kind of generous with it, but it does take a little extra battery power. So
But you get about, you got obviously a battery loss for anywhere from 3.5 to 4 hours. But when it gets below, I think when it starts getting around, 10, 12%, you better start running for the thing because it will go down very fast when it's cold. Generally, I tend to look at it if it's below 20% when it's cold out. But I've used it when it's like 21, 22 degrees and it behaves just fine.
yeah,
You have to put an external battery hook up to it.
Yes.
You can hook it externally. It won't charge if it's below freezing. So if you start on electricity, then you got to stay with electricity. As I think I don't know if it ever bypasses the battery, but it won't charge below freezing. So it might be a problem. I've used the battery on it. And it
I've
doesn't
actually brought mine in when it was pretty cold and tried to charge it right away and had a message come off and tell me it was too cold to charge at that time. I've never had to use it yet, but that's why I carry this thing around. Just in case it started to get low and I wasn't done yet, I can just USB that to the charging port on there and get some extra life out of it.
Now, the flip side of that is that when it gets really hot, the battery lasts for much longer than that 5 hours. I was out in the Irish Hills and I think it was 75, 80 degrees outside at night. It was that last summer when it had that 90-degree heat wave or whatever. And I was out there sweating. I mean, it's like 3 a.m. and battery is getting down near zero, but the thing is going strong. It took off the dew shields with jam or anything. If it shut down, quickly. And I sat there and it got down to zero and I was imaging. It's like, well, I'm getting marvelous images of the Andromeda galaxy. I got a good view of it in the summer here. Let's go. And I sat there and timed it for another 30 minutes on 0% battery, supposedly. So it varies somewhat. The built-in battery is plenty stout enough to do most of the work I think you'll ever do. Yeah.
Does it have a timer so you can set it for a few hours?
The scopes do have a plan feature so that you can, it's like, I'm going to spend an hour on this object, go to this object, do an hour there. And it will do that. I think the newest versions of the software give you an option whether to shut down the scope or not. Otherwise, it'll just run until it runs out of battery. But
And I've also heard they added something that's very handy to plan mode. Cause I used plan one time and had the most horrible experience I ever had with that. The plan worked fine. First time, I think I had 3 different objects. It gives you this little graph thing. It's actually kind of nice. And I had it all set out and I took off and I found the first object was imaging. I checked it once in a while. When it was done, I think I told it to wait like 5 minutes in between. And so there was a little pause. Sure enough, it took off, found the other one, found the third one. Well, this is pretty cool. It got done with the third one. I went out there a few minutes later, and you're going to see a picture of that coming up here of how I found my telescope. But the problem is Jeff and I both use these dew shields, which we also highly recommend. In fact, this would reduce the need for the dew heater too, but we're mostly doing it to block ambient light. Because there's really no dew shield of any type on these now. The lens is real close to the housing. So that makes a difference. But I found the telescope down like this, and that's up against the base. It wasn't making any noise. It apparently sensed that there was a load on it and it just shut down. But to go out there and see it like that, I almost had a heart attack. And I thought, oh, something's stripped or bad or something for sure. So I believe what I did is I put it in scenery mode so I could manually slew, and I just tilted it back up and thought, okay, I got it just so it wasn't in that position anyway. And I thought I'll just go to another object and see what happens. And it almost completely centered it. It was off just a little bit, and I resynchronized it and just took off. And it was fine ever since. But it's a scary.
Yeah, and the little console screen does have a little joystick ability, so you can vary the thing. So you didn't necessarily have to go.
Didn't have to, yeah.
But there's a lot of control to give.
Yeah, on the new shield, you said you had to buy that extra.
Yeah, they're like $6 or something.
Oh, okay.
These are 3D printed. I'm sure you can find a billion different designs for it. This one
yeah.
is simple, just press it in. It's held in by that, so if it gets knocked out. Supposedly it's supposed to knock on its own, but it don't.
Yeah.
That's how I tested my vibration sensor. I think we
Can you use it for terrestrial pictures?
yes.
Yeah, they both have a landscape mode.
Really?
And they'll track. So if you're into like Jeff's into freighter watching, so you could be on shore someplace, see a freighter, you can actually on the screen tag that freighter and it'll follow it until you tell it to stop.
Wow.
It's got
That's pretty cool.
full autofocus capabilities so that you can, do autofocus at
Yeah.
times. If you're in the plan mode, in the, deep space stuff, you can tell it to autofocus in between objects to stay focused.
Flame watching probably rather fun too.
Yeah, I don't know if they move that fast.
I think I saw something where somebody did do that
Hmm.
online, so I guess it might depend on where you're at too, but yeah.
Okay.
And before we go to that, something I wanted to cover,
This is the temperature one?
yeah, because we kind of got by that a little bit. On the S50 in equatorial mode, there's a couple things you got to look out for.
Oh, yeah, mounts.
One of them is when you start out, you're going to need, of course, a little dovetail thing to go into the mount here. I think this came with this, but I don't remember for sure. But to start out with, you'll notice his is the same way, even though these are kind of shaped differently. But you want to have the power lights, which actually looks like the back side in a way, but this is considered the front. This has to be facing up. So that means when I put this on the bottom, I want this little locking thing to be on the upper side because that is what stops it from falling right through there, which would be rather disastrous.
It happened once to me.
But what I do is just screw this in here. And I'm not going to tighten it down a lot, but normally I tighten this a fair amount. I was a little paranoid about it first. I thought, well, I don't want to try to push that motor, but you're actually not. What you're really tightening it to is the part that the whole thing is spinning around, not the actual moving part. And then, and this was the biggest problem I had with this, it's because when you put this in here, okay, there's a locking knob that comes with this. And it's kind of more like the locking knob you would see on that. Well, the problem is, you notice on the S50, you've got that little part there, it's stationary, but it's just barely taller than the scope itself.
Oh.
But then it's got these little rubber feet on it. That's the killer. And there's something that you gotta think about there that I didn't at the time. I was actually misguided a little bit, which I'll get into, but the problem is you're spinning this. And well, first of all, the original knob on there, I was already done because the knob hit the bottom of the scope. So then I thought, okay, I'll just get a nice set screw instead. And I did that and put in there. But then the problem is, even though that worked, then you've got to wedge this thing in there with not very much clearance to tighten that up.
In the dark.
In the dark. And of course, there's a chance you're going to drop this or something. So I thought, well, okay, I want something with a knob on it. So I happened to watch some Amazon or YouTube videos, and a guy had that exact same problem. So he gave you a part number for one of these from Amazon. And it's just a little thing where, you can go like that, tighten it down, and this is just control the position of where it ends up. However, I got this thought, okay, now I'm in business. And I put that in there and tightened it. And you got to kind of do this because otherwise it's going to cock up. And does anybody see the problem yet?
Yeah, when the thing spins, it's going to get,
Well, the idea is this is far enough out that when these feet come around, when it rotates, the little rubber things will. However, you also might notice that the center here thing is not centered in the middle of the telescope. It's offset a little bit. So when it spins around, and apparently this video I saw, I couldn't figure out how this guy recommended this thing. He must have never got into a situation where this happened. And I couldn't quite understand it because I did it and I was slewing it and I'm watching it. Oh, that's cool. These feet clearer than the other ones came around. And they hit this thing because, again, this isn't centered. So I went to Amazon and found the longest one they had available. So this kind of sticks out there quite a bit, but this one will do the job. Because when those come around, those feet kind of come right through here and just barely miss this thing. But they don't tell you that. Something you got to kind of learn the hard way. So, and don't go with the YouTube, whatever I saw recommended thing. If anybody runs us, know I can give you the part number for this. But I learned the hard way.
Charlie, how much does the S50 weigh? Because it looks like if you didn't have that back leg right underneath it.
Thank you. I was going to point that out. Yes, you always want to orient it this way. Because if I had it, say, like this, all right, so that that's angled between the legs, this much more easily tips like this. But if you have it so that the weight, plus it's also nice because that way you can kind of use this to orient toward north. But if you tighten it down here, it isn't going to do that. Now you might go like this, but it's not so much of a problem there because the weight's really out this way. And since I've done that, it's really stable. I've never been concerned about it.
Service got the same issue.
Yeah.
So I got mine like back here as well.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just like an $85, I think it was a Skywatcher tripod, and it's quite adequate. The other thing was kind of cool. I just have to plan because this was so cool. Because I decided to use a tablet for this, just bigger screen and all that. In fact, this is the main purpose of this tablet. And so I thought, well, that's cool because until I start imaging, I can kind of do stuff and go like this. And then one day I realized, oh my God.
Nice.
It's perfect. I mean, seriously, look at this.
That's pretty slick.
It's in there like it was made for it. Perfect fit. And I can actually do that and everything. Now, the only thing is if I'm going to image, I don't want to be messing with that. I want to walk away from it and see it from a distance because probably just doing this might make it. But the worst case is you might drop a frame. It's not the end of the world, but still. But I thought that was so slick because now I could just sit here in a chair and it was right in front of me and oh man, I'm cooking with that.
Oh.
So it shows you real time what it's.
Yes.
It does a live stacking mode, so that basically takes a frame, like a 60-second frame. Every 60 seconds, it'll refresh your screen and show you the next image
Yeah.
as it stacks. There is a continuous mode now that'll just roll through continuously and store whatever, but I like seeing the progress. In my area, I have a couple of trees directly overhead. And usually if I start an object over here, sometime in that session, I'm going to run into tree leaves. So when the image starts to turn dark in some corner, you start checking the raw frames, like, yeah, okay, the trees, so I had to stop. Well, last night, I intended to run for 90 minutes. At about the 80-minute mark, it ran into my tree, and it's like, okay, the image is degrading. Because I'm saving all the frames, I just went back this morning before I processed and got rid of those leafy frames.
And a good point about saving those frames, because I generally don't do it. I'm just sort of a thing. I hate burning memory if I don't have to. However, I might have to rethink that a little bit, because one advantage of saving all the frames like Jeff does is if we have time to show you some pictures, I'll show you the mean. It's because of the damn satellites. Right? And there's nothing worse than you've decided you're going to go an hour on some object and you're 45 minutes into it, boom, satellite goes right through the thing. Now, it turns out if it's a faint satellite, it will eventually get rid of that. If it's faint enough. And I've had some tracks that ended up completely disappearing because that one frame that had that in there got overwhelmed by all the other frames after that did not. But if it's a pretty bright one, you'd have to run longer than what I want to run to do it. And then the fear is, well, okay, so what if I do and I get rid of, and this happened, I had 2 tracks in there, I ran long, it's all those are good, especially once I run the AID noise thing that's in the app, which is a miracle thing. It works really well. And I've had that get rid of faint satellite tracks too. So I thought, okay, so I'm good and everything. And then another one came through that I couldn't get rid of. And I realized I was going to have to go probably another hour at least to try to get rid of that. And meanwhile, I'm seeing clouds starting to show up. So, but if I had saved all the frames, I could have gone back and found that one frame, just got rid of it and restacked. And that would have solved it.
How many images can, I assume it's storing them internally until you.
It's got, and I'm pretty sure it's 64. It's got 64 total. The OS and housekeeping takes a little bit of space, but I generally count on about 50 gig worth of space internally.
Well, how many hours of
Uh, I mean, each image for the cameras here is around 25 megs. I think it's a couple of gigs per image if I'm taking like about an hour or so.
So you can easily run for a night or 2.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I've only got about maybe 20 gig left on the thing right now. It's full of stuff. One of the strategies that I've done, and I got that in a later slide, but is basically use an external SSD, like a terabyte drive. Yeah. And I got a couple of scripts that basically do an rsync and synchronize that off.
By the way, there's
that
an
cleans it all
easy
up.
fix for your tree problem. It's called a chainsaw.
Yeah, I guess.
I've got 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let's sit on the front lawn and say, free fire me.
That's kind of the funny story, because our across the street neighbor had this maple tree that was grown about 3 to 4 feet every year. And I'm just looking, it's like, my sky is just disappearing with this stupid tree. And it's like, I'd love to chop the thing down, but it's clear property on the city easement, blah, blah, blah. Well, one very windy day, for whatever reason, the trunk just whap came down. I'm like, oh, darn. How unfortunate. How unfortunate for you, but now I just got the roof line to deal with on fine.
Maybe a return policy. Like, if you don't like it for 30 days, you return it.
I don't know about Seestar or ZWM themselves, but if I bought mine through High Point Scientific, I know B&H will do returns and stuff. Amazon, I think it's normal return policies. They're pretty good about it.
Yeah. Ken?
It's a warranty.
I think it's 1 year.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I think it's a year.
It was better than the standard 90 days for electronics.
Yeah.
And given these are outdoor instruments and subject to abuse.
I've never actually heard of anybody having to return one.
Seestars 30 days.
It's 30 days, really?
For ZWO.
The return.
Oh, for returning. Okay.
There we have. Well, this slide is like, it's probably a short thing, but we found that we were up at Owasso this past summer for their, their outreach event and all that. And it was kind of a hazy, cloudy day. These high clouds I found an internet picture of, and the visual guys and the folks who were trying to look through eyepieces were having a terrible problem with finding stuff. And Charlie and I brought our Seestars and some normal telescopes. The normal telescopes weren't getting anywhere because you really couldn't orient yourself. The Seestars, they were looking through this stuff. I think I did the Ring Nebula, and
I think I did M13.
yeah, you were doing a cluster, and they were coming just fine. I've imaged with these things, and it's like everything's fine. Every now and then you get a drop thing, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it's not brightening up each time the frame comes through because I'm in live stacking. It's like, yeah, okay, my success rate is going down. It's probably time to pull it in. I knew clouds were coming that night, but I guess they're coming. And I walk outside and I'm looking, and it's like, holy cow, I can't see any stars. I can't see nothing. It's all clouds. And this thing was still taking images.
Oh, I had one night I was on something and I was deep into an image. And I think I just looked at my Radar X I use quite a bit for looking at clouds and rating things. And all of a sudden I see that these clouds have come in. Oh my God, where did this come from? And so I kind of tracked it, and I thought, and sure enough, one of these things went right over the area that I was imaging. But I looked and I thought, well, it doesn't look like there was anything. So I kind of snuck out there and checked it, and it was still tracking. And apparently, maybe it dropped a couple frames when the clouds were going over. Maybe it just ignored it, but it didn't seem to have any detrimental effect at all. And I know that one cloud anyway definitely passed over the object I was on. There was another time it fogged on me, and I realized this fog was moving, and it came a little earlier than it was supposed to. And I went out at one point, and I think I could maybe see one or two stars I was left through the fog, and it was still imaging some nebula. I couldn't believe it.
But the solution for all this stuff is if you get a couple of you get a cloud come by, you're going to drop some frames. It might not take them at all, but like if you're in circulation mode or I hit a tree, you can go into the, there's two ways to get to the stuff that's on your app. You can see what's on your phone, or you can peek into the Seestar if it's still on. And that's where you find the subdirectory. It's like if I had M13, it'll be M13, which is where all your finalized stack things are, but it also has a companion pairing directory called M13_sub. You go into that subdirectory and it'll show you all the images it took, and you find the bad ones and put those in the trash. And then when you do post-processing, or like the slide says, you go back into, it says deep sky stacking. You have multiple sessions, like M13, if I do that at 3 different nights, all 3 nights are going to be in that same _sub subdirectory, and you can deep sky on those multiple sessions. And so you can do that on the app, or in my case, I pull them off and do them as a whole. I did M63. I did another 90 minutes last night, pulled back Monday night stuff and read it. So yeah, this is the do shield.
I take it that they're taking automatic frames.
Yes.
Yeah, internally they do dark frames. They don't expose that to you.
When you first get the thing powered up and you do your first image, it actually takes, oh God, what a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it's doing all of that stuff. It takes a dark frame, does some other things. It does an autofocus and a whole bunch of stuff. All before it starts doing that first image.
But each image, you got different temperature and whatnot. It doesn't do a dark frame. Frames.
Only on the first one.
Oh.
Basically, before you start your session, there's a long initialization period.
So it has an internal shutter to get the frame.
Apparently.
It must.
Yeah. It's also got an infrared filter, a light pollution filter.
Magic.
Filter, yeah.
These don't use cooled sensors.
What's that?
They use cooled sensors?
No.
These are planetary sensors.
The main thing on this slide is to show you what you don't want to see with your Seestar, what happened to me. You notice though, this is a dew shield, although I haven't seen a place where you can get one of these type, I've just seen pictures of them. You notice that little clear plexiglass on the bottom?
Mhm.
So what that's supposed to do is that sloughs down there, it catches that, and that just pries the thing right off. So it would fall to the ground, but you'll also notice there's a little hole in it, and that's so you can tether it to the tripod or the scope so it doesn't fall all the way to the ground. But that's supposed to prevent that.
I can tell you that these are very hard to find in the dark.
Yeah. That's a good point, yes. But the biggest thing is just make sure, now if you use plan mode, from what I understand in one of the updates, they changed that now, so when it gets done with the plan, it doesn't try to close the arm. And it doesn't need to anyway, so they fixed that. But there's also a thing in there on one of the main screens that says auto shutdown. So if it gets too low on battery, it'll shut itself down. I turned that off and I've never turned it back on. And for that reason, if it's gonna die, sitting where it's sitting, that's better than having to try to close with the dew shield on it. So I always turn that thing off.
Well, that's how I learned about the cold battery situation. It's like all of a sudden it's like, I've decided to shut down. I have no more power.
Right.
Next, I included this because when it has an AI denoise feature, which basically cleans up the background haze and enhances it. It's magical.
Oh, it's really good.
A lot of the early frames I took, that's all I was using. I wasn't doing any post-processing. It does a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but it does a great job. But one of the things that it does have that people overlook is they've got one of the three controls here. That'll give your brightness, your contrast, saturation, and then this one here, you can rotate the image around. You can shrink the image around. So if you have like something very long like this, that's not a problem. But if you have like the Andromeda Galaxy, it's tilted. Well, I can put it straight by playing around with this rotation. Obviously, it has to fit in. And once you start messing with that, then you can change these ratios to different sizes. The default is the full sensor, the 9x16. I use 3/4 all the time, 3 to 4 all the time. They just make for a little more artistic look, and it's one of those little features that I thought was really nice in their final editing.
The real thing in there is that AID noise zone, because it really does an excellent job. I've even noticed, and this is something kind of related to exposure times too, that to me, an hour is kind of a critical moment. It's sort of like Jeff said, because sometimes you really start to get some detail after that. But you also, in my case, I've noticed there's more chance something could go wrong. Maybe that's when a big satellite honks through there and ruins it. Or I've noticed, and I've got a couple images that show this, where I've got the original image, then the one ID noise. And for some reason, at just about 1 hour, I'll get this noise area that tends to be along the bottom right part of the image, where it just looks like there's something encroaching in there that's kind of almost foggy looking. I don't know what it is. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but that denoise thing completely gets rid of it. It seems to realize it. What's really weird is a few nights ago, I noticed that, and it crept in. I thought, oh crap. Well, hopefully the denoise will fix that. And then all of a sudden, just like that, right while I was watching it, it went away and everything was fine. So I don't know, but I know whatever that is, it happened just about 1 hour. So, yeah.
I just noticed on the chat, Shannon said, we found 20 degrees Fahrenheit is the lowest limit for the Seestar and the EV scope. Colder than that, risk damage to the objective and really chews through the battery. Yeah, that's about what we think.
Yeah.
Below 20 degrees is pretty cool. And the wind chill or chills and all that can get lower. We sort of skipped through some of this stuff earlier, but basically that save all frames is it's going to store every frame that it takes, with exceptions of the ones that it rejects. And yeah, you can basically go through those anytime afterwards because you got them stored. They're your images. You can do them. Yeah, and this thing will, if you plug in your USB cable to the power connector, you can plug that directly into your computer, and it looks like an external USB drive. if you have it turned on and it's on your network or on the hotspot and your computer connects it, it'll look like a network share. I think it uses the Windows SMB Samba routine. So sharing files off of the Seestar, it basically is like a wireless server or an external USB drive, depending on whether you got wired. I use the wired because frankly, transfer speeds are much faster.
I've used wired because I have to. For some reason, I cannot get that Seestar to show up on my network for the life of me. I've tried 2 different computers and it just absolutely, I mean, it's obviously there. It's on my network, my tablet's talking to it, but I can't get a computer to actually see it.
It
So
can
I just
be a
can't.
little, it can be a little fussy sometimes with the networking option. I just included this bottom in case there's any Uber geeks here, but this is the rsync thing that I use. And basically this is going to be the share location where that stuff is sitting, which the path is stupidly long. And then whatever destination directory you want to put it in. That's where my external drive, and naturally I put that in the script, so I don't have to remember that. But it is possible and it works really well.
What is the default image format?
Most of the external programs are going to want FITS files, and they give you FITS files. They will give you a JPEG, and they will give you a thumbnail of JPEG for every image. My scripts, I just go for the FITS files. I don't really care about the image stuff. The slide on Cyril. The newsletter article may have covered this entire slide. This slide was put together before I wrote that up, but to save time, Cyril, it's a free program. It's got the Cycon plugins, the Verilux plugins, and the SETI Astro plugins. Between those 3 sets of stuff and Cyril's capability, you can do amazing results with this thing. And there's some example images of the rosette here. I think the top one is without, the other 2 are after processing. So there's a lot of capability. You can really bring out the detail. And the Seestar, it does amazing things. For its size, it's generating a lot of extra goodies. And I think this was our miscellaneous slide. There was I think Kurt had the YouTube video that showed the people in China using this as a massive collection device. And I mentioned, I've had some ideas about, getting a Seestar event here in the club to try to do that. But whether you're doing 50s, 30s, sharing via files, it's a great collection device that has a lot of potential because it's so automated and it's so tied. The hazy high cloud, we already covered that. There is for lunar and solar, there's a stacking feature. It'll take video for X number of seconds, and then it'll do internal stacking of your planetary video, which is basically looking at the moon or looking at the sun. And the sunspots will appear much more resolute. The moon detail is much better.
And both scopes come with a solar filter.
Yes. Which is just a little orange.
How secure is that?
This fits in the same slot that the Dew Shield does. Comes out, just presses in there. This one is actually magnetic. It stays in no matter what. The 50, I think it's just a press. I'm not mistaken. The magnetic is definitely nicer.
Does it make any difference? Does it take whether you're dark sky or light pollution? Does it make any difference in the final picture?
Yes, these things will handle light pollution really well. Like we've been saying, clouds, trees, all kinds of things. But there's still nothing to beat dark skies. So yes, if you get to a darker site, it will perform better. And you'll get, just like you would with any other kind of image, and you'll get good images sooner, quicker.
Can you use it without the nebula filter? Is that
Yes. Well, what it'll do, it's smart enough to realize, like if you go to an emission nebula, it'll automatically kick the filter in for you in case you happen to forget. But it's smart enough to realize in the case of a reflection nebula, you don't want to use that filter, so it will not engage you.
If you're in a dark place, can you say, forget it?
Yeah, you can run it.
Switch right on the
Yeah.
app.
Yeah.
It's completely up to you whether
Yeah.
you use that LP filter. Yeah, Tim.
So not to go into the weeds,
I
but,
think we're already.
well, no, so again, Adrian was up at Peach Mountain Saturday, and lo and behold, his S50 would not connect. On the way down the mountain, it connected, and then we have a new member, I don't know if he's here, Cody.
Yeah.
Cody actually works up there, he goes up there and helps maintain the buildings. And he poked around in the astronomy department, and I guess they have a point to point between where the old dish is on the south and the building that runs the radio telescope, and they have a point to point, it's probably a 5 gigahertz bandwidth. So question being, so Cody had his ASI Air up there, and I got out my phone and I have a Wi-Fi sniffer on it just to see. There was no 5 gigahertz signals up there, nothing. But the 2.5 with the ASI Air was strong as hell, and it was fine. And I was wondering,
I had a lot of problems. That's how I got around it, is I dropped it down to 2.5.
okay,
And
so
that's what did the trick.
so that's something we probably need to publish, people bringing them up there, because you got to do it before you get up there, because you can't get into it and
Exactly.
change it.
Yeah, so if you're in station mode, do your direct connect to it before you leave home.
But you want to force it to
And
then,
probably, well, I've actually done it at 5 and just left it that and been fine.
so.
But the time I was up by the small dish, that's where I had to, despite that, I had to.
That's what I'm saying, so there's a difference between when you're saying station mode versus when it's just connecting to your phone, its own hotspot. Can it transmit in 2.5 versus 5 in its own hotspot?
Yes,
Okay. Well, we probably need to do some experimenting with that up there,
There,
come up with a way.
the interface is not real clear to get to it, but you can get to it, configure it. I've only had success, I've had success with 5 and I haven't looked back. But I thought about this issue to include in the miscellaneous, but it's like, we really don't have any good answers right now. We've got a lot of anecdotal evidence and it looks like this 5 gigahertz is the problem, but I figure it's worth a newsletter or a posting or article or something in the future once we figure it out.
Is anybody reporting problems with 5 gigahertz at home or
Not to my knowledge.
no,
only at?
when I've used 5.
That's something here.
5 is gonna give you more speed, it's just more unforgiving when it comes to any kind of interference. It'll drop quicker.
How easy is it to switch from 5 to 2.5?
From what I remember, and the interface has changed a couple of times. The panel is buried, but once you find that, it's just a matter of an on-off switch. 2.5 or 5.
So how would I find it on the Seestars?
I'd have to turn it on and
Yeah, I don't
through the
remember
menus.
it's fan now either.
Yeah, I had it at 5 for so long, I don't remember how. And like I said, they rearranged the entire UI of the app a few months ago. We've gotten kind of used to that.
Just a quick question, do you know if you get any type of interference from the Starlink unit that they have up there?
Not that we know of, unless that's what's causing the problem.
Yeah. That's a good, that actually, that's a,
Wi-Fi camera up there.
I don't think so.
Let's see, it would have affected the other devices.
Right.
It wasn't.
Right.
Everybody else, all the 2.5 devices up there were running strong at almost minus 40 dB. They were really, really strong. So.
Yeah, I just looking through the miscellaneous stuff, and this is the case, the 30 comes in, so as far as the graphic goes scope, it's really hard to beat. I came with my backpack and I carried the tripod, that was about it.
So the S50 looks just a little larger, but still not bad.
Yeah.
Did you take it on an airplane?
I haven't, but because of the lithium battery, it has to be a carrier. The other thing that we really didn't touch on, but we've done at the elementary schools and stuff, is that as an outreach thing, if you have It's like you've saved all your frames to the Seestar. You can go into a demonstration mode and it will do imaging, basically every 5 seconds, it'll pull up whatever you've got and then build the image right in front of you. So if you're demoing it to some students or whatever, they can see how this marvelous little thing works, but in fast motion.
If funds are not an option, would you wait on the 70 or would you 30, 50 or 70? If funds are not a problem.
My choice right now would still be the 30. It has good portability, the sensitivity is there. It's wide enough. The 30 Pro is a little bit wider, but I'm not really interested in that super wide sky stuff. So depending on what you're looking at, if you want to look at the moon a little more, 50 is probably your answer.
The 50 does excellent images of the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really nice.
Or if, I mean, like last night I was looking at M51. It takes up a very small portion of the middle of my screen. I'm sure on a 50, that's going to take probably another 20% larger, roughly. And just basically on the phone chip. So depending on what you're interested in looking for,
Is the
that's
70 going to be that much better?
we don't know much about the 70 right now.
I have heard there's some more features, like there's rumor it's gonna have auto guiding. I think the objective is gonna be like the S30 Pro where it's a 4 element, not a 3.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't think they needed to improve the objective anyway.
Both of the 30 models have got a secondary camera that is very handy for locating the moon and the sun. Those two objects, it has a bear of a time trying to find them. And with that secondary camera, it's just a cell phone camera that has a super wide angle. It allows you to manually get the thing, relatively close to the sun. And once you get it close, then you're good to go. The 50, it's a little more challenging.
Yeah, because it doesn't have that other camera.
Yeah.
Although I've not had too much difficulty doing it, really. But one thing to consider, if you're gonna do the sun, you've gotta be on all asphalt.
Do what?
If you're gonna look at the sun, you have to be in all asphalt.
Break
It's
it
a
up.
little hard to align it when you can't see in the sky. The night sky.
That's why I kept my level.
Right, yeah.
I have tried using it in EQ mode, and it's possible, but it is not steady or sturdy enough to do an equatorial and a leveler. And the leveler is kind of pointless.
So the solar filters, a white light filter then?
Yes,
It's not an HL.
correct, no, white light.
Maybe that's what they'll put in the 70. That would be really
Well, that would be cool, yeah.
I think we should point out though that for planetary imaging, the finest planetary imaging, when you look down through last 15 years or so, 20 years, when they first started stacking images, the best images come from an 8-inch to a 12.5-inch. You get bigger than a 12.5-inch, you gotta throw too many frames out. But both visually and imaging. The guy who was in charge of the Mars section, who was from Chicago for the ALPO, always used a 12.5-inch. But that's also because he trained himself, that was a big problem. But for imaging, you look at some of the finest images, they were around a 10 to 12-inch because you've got enough images. But a 70 millimeter, you're not going to get the same images
probably
as your.
Well, that's physics.
Yeah, that's physics. Yeah, you can't beat diffraction theory.
Well, I mean, this one, I was trying to do deep sky with, all the external parts and stuff, traditional methodology, and I got it to work, but the setup time was about an hour. This thing came out, it's like, that saved me a whole ton of setup time. The image quality probably isn't gonna be the same, but I think it'll be worth it. And I've been delighted, I sold all that stuff. Tim has got my old camera. I think Tad has got my old telescope and the focuser. It's, one of those things, this has replaced my deep sky activities. It's plenty good enough for what I want to do, which was basically taking snapshots of stuff.
You're probably not going to do, say, the Saturn.
No, that will have to go to the SCP. But, the techniques that this thing uses, like yeah, I can get away with a 60-second, and my mount's pretty steady, so I might get away with it. Might have to use a guide scope. I learned a whole lot about doing that when I was doing it manually, but now knowing that, moving to this, it's like, okay, I know what to need to do. I recognized when I was getting vibration, and I got to buy a heavier, equatorial wedge, etc. Anyway, I think
That's it.
That's it. Sorry.
You guys are all tomato free.
I have, we didn't get hurt.
It's nothing. No debris over here.
Yeah, but we don't have a sweatshirt to give you.
Oh, that's
I
true.
brought it. I got my hand.
Any questions?
I think
Everybody asked them all the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the meeting's gonna go on next, right? So.
Yeah, we're gonna go on business meeting.
Meeting,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to hurry this along here because we've been here for a bit, so.
Yeah.
The two things I've got, so Jim will talk about the open house, but. We were trying to find speakers for June and July. And Brian Autumn stepped up for July, or June, sorry.
Yeah.
And it looked like Rudy Lindner was gonna be for July, but I had a little hard time getting hold of him, but he did. And I don't think even one day passed and we realized that we might not have a room to have him in.
Yeah,
I think we've mentioned the problem at Eastern Michigan with Norb's retirement. He doesn't know if he's gonna have like a key to the building, have emeritus status. So he could still potentially, if he wanted, have the meeting over there. And unfortunately, when they have this meeting where they'll decide who gets emeritus, isn't until October. So basically, we can forget going to MU at least this year, probably.
Did we move the picnic to July?
We're thinking of doing that next year, but this year it's still in August.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so EMU is not a thing, and then I found out right behind that this room's not available because they scheduled some other thing in which I don't blame the Detroit Observatory for. We assumed we were going to be over at EMU. Now Austin did say that if we got in a real jam, he would ask if they could move their event to the weekend after our meeting, and we could meet here after all. I just kind of hate to ask him to ask that if he doesn't have to. But he said he'd be willing if it came down to it. Meanwhile, we have looked at some other options. Right now, we're thinking up at North Campus. We do have a couple options there. One would be a building called Pier Point, which fortunately is real easy to find. It's one of the easiest buildings to find on North Campus. The other one is the Duderstadt building, which is sort of behind the Pier Point building. In both cases, unless we figured out earlier today, maybe Jeff can get us this room in the Duderstadt building since he's still staffed, but otherwise there is a charge for him. But we've heard the rent is actually pretty reasonable, so nothing to be afraid of there. But right now it looks like that's probably what we're going to do, but we haven't resolved it for sure yet. So
A developing situation.
yes, and one of my big concerns is getting a nearby handicap parking spot for Rudy. I mean, he's even older than we are. So,
but the problem with the third Friday is that down here, almost everything is locked up. That's not the same out on North Campus.
Your line is open 7 by 20.
Gridlock's the top.
Sorry, Duderstadt is open 7.
You know, there's an auditorium up there, right next to Pier Pond too. What's that?
It's Chrysler.
Right, so auditorium.
No, it's
Slurry?
Lurie, that's the tower. Anyway, it's right
Yeah.
due north of Pier Pond. It's a brand new building. Kind
Is
of,
that the performance?
yeah, there's one. I mean, we've done some things in there.
Arthur Miller. The Arthur Miller Auditorium. They use for performance.
Yeah, anyway, I mean, there's a couple.
There's a lot of conference rooms and stuff up on North Campus. I used to work up there, so.
All right.
I can check around it. The Duderstadt, they have, it's made to be a student community type of building for that kind of purpose.
So developing thing, we'll let you all know, but it looks like that's right, so. That's all I had, so, Jeff,
I don't have much, other than I still have 3 handbooks and 6 calendars, I believe. If the counts are correct. I brought a couple here just in case. Handbooks, I think, were 26, calendars 21. We were thinking about using some of those for speaker gift options.
Yeah.
Since we have a small surplus.
well, that, and I wasn't, well, maybe I did mention it, it turns out if everything works out, we do find a place for the July meeting and Rudy's still our speaker, I think both will probably be true. It just so happens that happens to be his birthday. So that's what Jeff and I was thinking about, is maybe giving him that book and even a calendar, just as a birthday present, so. And interestingly, not the last time you talked to us, but the one before, the last time we were at Angel Hall. The time before that, we were at EMU, and that was also July 17th on his birthday.
We timed them for the reason.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, Jeff.
I think that's about it.
Who else? Tim.
Oh, okay, so, website thing, Barry got a new job, so he's been still working on the website, but it's slowed down just a little bit until he gets his feet under him and gets more things settled. He is working on, the email part of it right now, where we're gonna be able to hopefully manage all of the, email lists, things from the website itself. He's also started putting together the membership part of how we're going, getting. What am I gonna say? So Doug Scoville sent us a spreadsheet of all the current members, and we are in the process of getting that. We have to get that into the website as a database, and then things will begin to happen. We're a little bit slower than we thought we'd be at this point, but we're still going. So but we still have there's one bug that has to do with the calendar. So when I make a calendar, so for example, today's meeting at midnight last night, when today starts, it disappears from the bleeping calendar.
Yeah, I thought it was pointing that out.
So it's like not, I mean, it's still in there, meaning if you go to the right link, it's there. But it doesn't show up on the calendar widget on the page I put in. And the two of us can't figure out for the life of us why that's happening. So I did it for the open house and I completely spaced out for today, but I just put usually I have a spot on the homepage now for like a, news or banner or something, but I just will say, okay, tonight's meeting, and I just link it to the actual event, so it will still show up, you can see it.
Can you just link to our Google Calendar? Like can you link directly to our Google Calendar like we did before?
I don't know, I probably could, I don't know, if that's something Barry would have to probably work in.
Yeah.
That's something that.
Yeah, the old site used the Google Calendar, the embed. It
Yeah,
was just an embedded calendar and it.
So I'm using the calendar that's inside the website itself.
We can do a lot more if we keep the calendar inside the website. Because you can schedule events, announcements, all kinds of stuff that can happen automatically. The Google Calendar, it will show you the calendar and that's it. So
Yeah, anyway.
it always can be a fallback if we need to.
That's it.
Hey, Jack.
Nothing to report, just getting everything ready for the next open house. That's about it.
Whenever that may occur.
It's
Gotta start with.
Saturdays, tomorrow.
Come to me for work.
I'll bet Jim wants to talk about that.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things, about the open house. I've had some, health problems, they're minor, but I'm not gonna be out on the hill. But only 2 people have responded that they can show up and make it happen, Jack and Tim. And that's not enough. And so if I don't have commitments tonight, there will be no open house regardless of what the sky does. So that's that. The other thing, and these are copies for Connie and Hefta and Brian Autumn, but my wife, Jenna, who's also a member of this group, is accomplished quilter and seamstress, and she one of the sewing groups that she attends, it's an older French woman. Her granddaughter in France has leukemia, and the girl's 8 to 10 years old. I'm not sure exactly what, but whenever she has a treatment, it kills her immune system, and she has to go into a bubble. And her grandmother has been asking her friends to have people send her cards and, well, send grandma cards, because most of the people that she knows don't speak French, don't write French, don't understand French. So grandma translates. But what Jenna did was put together a little astronomy program. And I suppose we could turn the overhead on and see some of them.
You do that.
And on the back, there's a list of people that helped her. And some folks donated their pictures. And that's why I have copies to give to Ani and Brian. But I think we'll end up having to mail them. So how does this work?
Oh,
Focus.
we might have to turn the other way when we got to focus.
Oh, yeah, take that focus thing off. There you go. Starting.
Anyways, some of her pictures, some of her friends, some of other people you know. And then there was others of us that helped her with the science and proofreading and
That was good.
suggestions about the writing. But 100% her work. She self-published it through Lulu, and yeah, and so gives you a pretty good idea of what she's done with her. And if we flip through it a little bit, there's a couple of Connie's pictures of the sun. One's NASA, and this one, that's on. So I asked her if it was okay to share it tonight, and she said sure. So anyways, that's that.
Pretty cool.
It is. It's an amazing little book as far as I'm concerned, and took her a few tries with Lulu to get it so that there weren't borders around it and white borders around it and stuff like that. But she got about a dozen copies printed to give to the people that helped out, as well as send overseas. Cool.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything else?
Has there been any further discussion about Doug's suggestion about a sub-treasurer for the merchandise?
No, that kind of died on the vine. One problem is you notice he mentioned it's like 5 large boxes. Because I was almost tempted myself. I don't have room for 1 large box anymore, nonetheless 5. But it is a good idea. I'd like to see it happen, but it is asking somebody down here to take on another responsibility. It's not just the storage, but then they're gonna be doing distribution. So it kind of died on the vine. I'm not saying maybe we won't think about it again. Or certainly if anybody stepped up and said, hey, I'd like to do that, then let's talk about it, so.
Any further discussion about maybe getting the Seestars together and making one big huge telescope? And combining all the files and focus on one object.
Sort of, yes.
We
Actually, we were kind of thinking that before that came out.
Yeah, Charlie and I were thinking about springing the project on, after this, and then the video came out and everybody was talking about multiples, but the idea that I had, because we've got kind of a motley collection, I don't know the quantities we'd have to gather of that. But the idea would be to, like, say tonight, we'd announce as like, okay, for this month, we're gonna be targeting, say, M51. And then everybody spends some time doing M51, turn your images into, like a shared drive. Or maybe a week before the meeting, we have a, post-processing thing, we, process the living daylights out of it. And produce an image that maybe has 10 or 20 hours worth of capture there, and then at the meeting present that image.
What am I trying to say?
I said the Seestars.
Looking at the differences in scale would
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Scaling is an issue. That's why taking the different Seestars.
I mean, we could do it like with, people, if you have a 30, do this, if you have a 50, do this,
Yeah.
then combine those.
You'd have to divide it up amongst.
I'll be willing to do the process.
Unless somebody knows some trick that we can stack those.
Well, I've been trying to figure out how I can combine some
that
different
Didn't those,
scales.
didn't the fellas in China have 50s and 30s?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And they managed to do it.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's certainly possible. It's a matter of scaling.
Yeah.
And, adjusting.
Whatever is in the smallest field of view.
Yeah.
And that's the area that you can combine everything. Stuff outside
Yeah.
that.
Can you resonate wide apart? Like, Seestars in different area, let's say 50s,
Well,
in different areas, and then
yeah.
have
meat mosaic.
have an image of a telescope that has that wide.
in a drama.
No.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that.
It's
My-
a mosaic.
My idea would be, since we're a Southeastern Michigan club, a few, tenths of a degree here and there probably is not gonna make a huge difference in the view that you get. Whereas a view from Hawaii or Florida is gonna be vastly different, scale's gonna be different also.
Well, not for anything
all,
less than.
yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about is, you have one, I'm just not saying Florida, Michigan.
Yeah,
whatever.
20 feet away or something.
Suburbs of Ann Arbor or whatever, or Ypsilanti, and have that as one big lens, okay? And then just merge them off, and it would have to be, it wouldn't be the moon or something, but the
Problem with that is so within a kilometer.
cluster.
That technique requires what they call coherent
Yes.
imaging. So you have to keep everything
Yeah.
that records phase as well as magnitude.
Yeah.
So it works, it's easy with radio telescopes, it's hard with optical.
Now you're getting to the point, that's what I was
Yeah.
asking, about how difficult is that?
It would be.
Very
Have that special hardware,
Very
will be a fiber optic thing between them.
You've got
Yeah.
to, be able to control distances to some resolution.
Yeah.
have a really accurate clock.
Yeah.
$500 unit.
We don't in the common box. It would be nice if it were possible.
I try to do it at a Formula One race.
Full block grid.
I think again, that we're just asking for something to cover the entire field. I have a question, Jack. How is the shroud of the footage? they're still in good shape. We can't evade that. 15, 20.
It seems to be okay, the loops are still, you know, where you design the loops to go through and that still seems to work out all right. And the, no. Velcro? Yeah, the Velcro that still seems holding up, man. But there's no like shredded holes or anything.
Okay.
Well, you used to put holes in it because you'd roll the roof over it, and you wouldn't have the telescope down far.
Yeah, at the top and rip it off, yeah. Right. Try to
Sort of
keep
patches
it
on.
there, or at least, you know, want a couple inches there at the top, you bring it over and point that front. But you're right, I remember that big back. Stripped to try to get his back.
It was fine when Jack and Tom and I were out there, working on it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to get off the conversation.
Are you in the business of doing that for every?
Fee, I'm sure. Why not make club members? Discount.
He's always working shy.
Real special, a minus 10% discount.
Okay, anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Anybody from the Zoom audience? I don't see any hands up or anything. So we have a motion to adjourn, support. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much.